Welcome to Atlanta Motor Speedway, ladies and gentlemen. This is Downshift Esports week number 2 of our truck series. My name is Chief Cass. Biggles is joining me in my broadcast booth. And Biggles, if we go back to Daytona International Speedway in week number 1, we saw an incredible race where Milkowitz was able to come out of nowhere on the final lap to take that lead and cross the finish line first. Are we going to see that level of battles here today at a much shorter track, an intermediate track, 1.5 miles? So we're missing a few familiar faces here today. So we're talking about that incredible last-second pass by Milkowitz on that final corner. And some of his biggest competitors, Jimmy Hayden, Jason Castaldo, well, they're not actually racing here today. So we're going to see a complete mix-up. And in fact, if we go over to practice, it was Dustin Scruggs, our 5th place driver from Daytona, fastest overall, followed by Brett Gusick, Michelle Voles, Kevin Laney, as well as Brian Kennedy round out your top 5 currently from practice. We're about to enter into qualifying, though, so things are going to start to get mixed up. And really the important thing to take away from practice, those top 5 times are all from drivers who are utilizing the draft. So if we see our drivers start to spread out a little bit during qualifying, those times of 51.08 might not be achieved.
2 laps they'll have, 5 minutes maximum for qualifying. Hopefully you guys can hear me all okay. Welcome. Because that's just a short, isn't it? 2 laps really on a 130 lap race. So this is it. Where you want to start on the grid, obviously, is very, very important. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to the pace that you're going to demonstrate overall. And what are you going to do? Mandatory pit stops are required. You're going to need some gas. You're going to need some tires. You're going to need to say hello and sign some autographs. But we're going to be getting ready for some fantastic race, aren't we? Underway here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Just to illustrate how incredible the racing will be today, the fastest driver in practice, Dustin Scruggs, published a 31.08. The slowest driver, Brandon Ward, went a 31.63. 0.6 of a second separates the entire field. Practice and qualifying, it is going to be by a hair who takes pole. I mean, if we even look at Justin Scruggs, 31.08, right behind him is Brett in the number 4 car, 31.15. Michelle Voles at a 31.22. Actually, Kevin Laney turned a 31.22 as well. So very close times today.
And you got to think about this. I've said this before because I do a lot of Formula 1 broadcasting, but a football pitch in a Formula 1 car travels across that whole distance in 1 second. You just said we're looking at, what, 1/10, 2/10, like even less than that, separating that field. I can't even imagine what the distance would be.
Well, again, I mean, we're going to have cars pack racing all day. We're going to see the draft be a huge factor here in the Tri-Oval, and it's really going to be on our drivers to kind of battle endurance. You have 130 laps. Sure, it's an intermediate track, so it's going to kind of go by quickly, but it is going to be hectic. We saw back at Daytona International Speedway for the first half, most of the drivers were pretty calm. Our first caution took place in lap 36, followed by the second caution, lap 44. But from there, our drivers started to get a little bit more antsy. They started to race. And I think we're going to see that pressure again. It's going to take about the first quarter mark before our drivers realize, hey, I'm tired of drafting. I'm tired of pushing. I kind of want to start to move forward.
Yeah, I missed that one last week. You were there here at Daytona. They didn't let me in there. I didn't pass the test. But anyway,
we didn't allow Aussies in.
Yeah, don't allow Australians, of course. I don't even allow you. Why do you even allow me here in Atlanta? But anyway, it is what it is. Welcome, everybody, obviously, in the YouTube chat. Jimmy is not racing today. Jimmy, the machine, as we've seen in plenty of the other Downshift Esports leagues, not here today. So it's an open field, really. Anybody can steal this one away before Jimmy comes back and steals it away, probably from everybody else. But hey, it is what it is. I'm looking forward to it. We're getting ready for qualifying as the pressure is on Cole, then, says Sinful Envy.
So, Biggles, as you're alluding to, Jimmy Hayden's not going to be racing today, but Castaldo, his teammate, won't be racing as well. So, one of our most powerful teams here in the Downshift ecosystem is currently not racing today. So, what does that mean for the rest of the drivers in the field?
Opportunity. Oh, yeah. the unstoppable force meets the unstoppable object. I'm not quite sure, isn't it? You never know, because you got to remember it's 130 laps, mate. 130 laps is a lot of time, isn't it? Of absolute concentration. And then also with that mandatory pit stop, when do you box? Is it better to box a little earlier and have the better tires to go deeper into the race, or do you stall it out as long as you possibly can and do a lot of splash and dash towards the end?
Well, I have one more thing to add to that. Jimmy Hayden, both in the Street Stock League as well as in the Truck Series, has been the primary driver saying, all right, friends, we're all going to go for a pit stop now, or at least I'm going for my pit stop, and everybody says, monkey see, monkey do. Jimmy Hayden, the fastest driver here, is going for pit lane. I think I'm going to follow him. So now that our leader in the pit lane isn't racing today, what does that mean, Biggles? Who is going to be the one that shot calls when we go into pit lane? Is it Milkowitz, our winner from Daytona?
That's true, but he's obviously got to be the head of the pack, doesn't he? He has to be the sheep that everybody's going to follow. That's going to be the key. It happens in all motor racing, which is, the person that's in the lead of the race really is the one that has to make those key decisions, and everybody else behind has kind of that little bit of a luxury of going, oh, we'll follow him in. But then again, copying strategy always isn't the best thing to do. It's just like at school, isn't it? You can try to copy somebody to try to cheat an exam, but if you really want to be an overall the champion, the one that's going to be a little bit better than you have to a little bit of big brain right now, I think, to kind of seize that opportunity and moment when you can.
Well, it doesn't look like Milkowitz will have that opportunity, at least if we're gauging them based off their practice time. Milkowitz turned a 31.33, good enough for 11th position. Again, that's 0.3 behind Dustin Scruggs, our pole sitter, at least from practice right now. Practice times really don't mean all that much, Biggles. It's just kind of the way things start to, set themselves out. Now, and speaking of that, let's move over to our standings to see where we are after one race. As we're alluding to, it was Milkowitz, our driver from Daytona, that found the victory. Storzum was Milkowitz's companion. I mean, Andrew Storzum pushed Don Milkowitz across the finish line. If it wasn't for the camaraderie and the teamwork between Storzum and Milkowitz, I don't think we'd have seen that finish.
Moment, but you're the one that was there in Daytona. You're at the track. Remember, they wouldn't allow the Australian in there because they don't allow dingoes into, obviously, Daytona. But look at that. So, yeah, Don set the stat. He's also got a target on his back now, doesn't he? Because, Don is the benchmark. So it's up to Andrew, Brian, Jason, Dustin, Kevin, and Jimmy. He's not here, but look at that. Obviously, points are points. Early days, second race that we're in right now. This is the one I think this is one of those more important races you need to set a statement as well, because that is kind of the average, as you're going to get either a target painted on your back or you'll be painting a target on somebody else's back.
Well, the target was on Jimmy Hayden's back entering into Daytona. In fact, Jimmy was leading the majority of the race, but unfortunately, fatigue eventually caught up to him. He was involved into a backmarker accident that ended up being detrimental to his race car. A small amount of aero damage meant that Jimmy Hayden was unable to draft, was unable to stick with the lead pack, and eventually fell back into the depths of the field. 7th place position finishing is actually quite incredible, given the fact that Jimmy had no ability to run with the pack. And I actually think if we had about 10 more laps in the 100-lap race at Daytona, I think Jimmy would have actually fallen deeper into the back of the pack because, again, that car was just very difficult to race with the lead drivers. And, again, that also led to the brilliant comeback from Milkowitz.
And that brilliant comeback, did that come down to tire strategy, pit stop strategy? How did that one pan out, dude, in your opinion?
It was just teamwork. Yeah. It was Milkowitz and Storzum working together to pass the team of Burgers and Beer Racing.
I love the Burgers and Beer Racing. It says tasty, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
This is Jason, of course, of Burgers and Beer Racing, as well as Jimmy Hayden. And Jimmy is obviously not racing today. We're going to get ready underway. Now, the reason why we're just stalling things a little bit is because the drivers are talking to Michael Massey. They're talking to the race control. Not Michael Massey, of course. He does the Formula One. Well, perhaps, maybe, doing the Formula One. But they're going to be going through,
I don't think he's long for this world. I think Toda is going to come over there and remove him very soon. It's not right, after all.
Yeah. Sponsored by Bose headphones when you need to, when you're upset about what's happening, and slam those Bose down into the desk. And obviously, well, the desks are also sponsored as well, too, by Mercedes. But anyway, we are here, obviously, in Atlanta. And into trucks, not into the Formula One cars. These still have 4 tires, don't they? That had to plant themselves to the track 4 turns as well. Which is the trickiest you find as a driver?
Now, unfortunately, my background is mostly in road racing, but I believe it's the tri-oval that is the most difficult part here of Atlanta. I mean, again, the whole racetrack and the whole series is going to be about drivers working together and pack racing. That's what really separates, most of these ovals, is you're going to have drivers around you. Somebody's going to be in front of you, somebody's going to be behind you, somebody's going to be to your inside, somebody's going to be to your outside, and it's all about that situational awareness, Biggles. That's really the most difficult thing, is you have to be running fast laps, looking far ahead of that race car, but also using that peripheral vision to gauge where you are in the racetrack and where your competitors are.
Are you following, obviously, drafting? I'm new to this as well. Getting into it, and welcome everybody, and thank you very much. CPL Scrub says no Mikey, no, of course. Yeah, when you have to lift a little bit, don't you? Obviously, they're flat out in their gears, and you don't brake really much at all.
Lifting is for the weak, Biggles.
You don't lift.
Oh, let me tell you from my experience, both as a driving instructor and a competitor. Whenever somebody tells me, oh, I'm not lifting through this corner, I always pull their data. I always go to their AM system, plug my computer into their car, and always see. And you know what? Most of the time, they are lifting. Very few drivers that tell me that they aren't lifting are usually lifting. That's the biggest lie in motorsports.
Yeah, I'd have to say at the end of the day, isn't it? Because of the slipstream, you have to lift, right? Otherwise, you're going to be basically signing your autograph into the fence.
So if we're talking about drafting, not always. So there's 2 reasons why you may consider lifting within the draft. A is a rolling speed, as you're talking about, but actually might more importantly be the fact that your race car doesn't have a lot of downforce. So right, if you're nose to tail pushing the car in front of you, well, the air is flowing over the car in front of you and actually might be flowing behind you. So that rear spoiler in the back of the truck might not be getting the same amount of air as another vehicle. So you actually might have a lighter back end. And in fact, if we go back over to Daytona International, one of the big criticisms of the track and the racecraft was the fact that drivers were using that rear bumper, that front bumper, to lift the rear bumper, get that race car light, and eventually have it wash up, take that oversteer to the top wall.
Yeah, I'm just writing notes about that one. Sorry, could you repeat the question? I'm kidding. Of course, it's there. Yeah, Scrubby says, call yourself Thomas. Yeah, you did get murdered yesterday,
that is Thomas
mate.
Williams from the Skippy race.
Yeah, we know you, Thomas. We see you out there, mate.
Cam the Dank engine is their proper.
Qualifying's underway, my friend, here. Underway in Atlanta. So beautiful conditions. And let's see how these gladiators are going to make their way around. A lot of gladiators here on the track as well. So they're going to get 2 laps as we're watching Coy McGrath make that little purple 2-car as fast as he possibly can around this track.
Now, one thing that we're seeing that is very interesting right now, Coy's by themselves, one of the first drivers on track, Caleb Clifton being another one of those drivers to turn a lap, but I don't see any trucks around them. This is concerning to me. Let's go back to our practice times. Those times were achieved with race cars in the draft, with somebody pushing and somebody being pulled. And I don't see fast times being turned without that draft. Now, as I say that, Paul Micra just went a 34-1, so that is relatively on par to what we saw in practice. Again, the fastest time was a 31.05.
31.2 from Chad, as he's passed his way quicker than everybody else, and he's starting to see that time difference between them. So they're going to have practically one more lap. I don't know. What do you guys out there think in the YouTube world? Thank you very much for tuning in. I think anybody can get very, very loaded 31s.
31 lows are most certainly happening. Honestly, I want to see that driver push that 30 bracket. Once we get a 30 high, I think that's going to be the pull time. Again, not yet seen in practice, but practice is also a different element. Those drivers are running for close to 30 minutes, so those fast times that were being achieved at the end of the session, those were on degraded tires, and Guzik has just turned the fastest time, including in practice, a 31.09. Actually, that's 4/10 of a second, 400ths of a second off the practice time.
Yeah, Brett, come on, mate. You needed a 30. You needed a 30s. You're at the 31. That might very well be the quickest time this evening. Damn impressive as well, too. That's about 13 thousandths of a second there of gap there to Cole in the number 3 car. That's my favorite number, by the way, Cole. So good luck on that one there. But Brett, yeah, I think Brett's done it. I think he has.
I mean, that's quite a brilliant lap. And Don Milkowitz finds himself sitting in 16th position with a 31.98. Again, Don Milkowitz is the driver from Daytona that had the incredible comeback. I mean, they had a rough qualifying and was able to win the race. So I think Don is going to be in exactly the same position that happened at Daytona. Starts in the back of the field, and you know what? You have 130 laps to work with, Biggle. It's such an opportunity for Don to, take the first 100 laps, learn from his competitors, and then apply it to the last 30 laps, because at the end of the day, Biggles, what matters? Leading 129 laps or leading the last lap?
That's true. Exactly. You don't get any points for qualifying. You get points for the final finish. And he's proven it before in the past. Obviously, the man leading the championship right now. He has to prove it again, but to overtake a lot of those cars, that's 130 laps, mate. That's a bit stressful on the arms, isn't it, with these racing rigs that these Gladiators have?
Fanatec keeps making more and more, I guess, torque racing wheels, right? They had the DDL2 that's now doing like 20 Newton meters of torque. I mean, that's ridiculous. At this point, cancel your gym membership, buy a DDL2, and use that as your bicep workout.
Exactly. Gym membership sponsored by Fanatec. You don't need to go to a gym. Just stay here and play some esports racing, of course. And yeah, it's true. But if you guys aren't aware, I don't even have a rig, but I know and I've heard from drivers, it's a lot of... I mean, have you seen esports drivers? Their arms? Mm-hmm. It looks like that they could go in an arm wrestle with Arnold Schwarzenegger and beat him.
I mean, have you seen race car drivers in general? I mean, they're all well-built. They're in extreme physical shape because you have to be big. Also, I mean, one thing I think a lot of people forget about that race car drivers have to deal with is temperature. So we talked about this in the Skippy race yesterday. So whatever ambient temperature is, you have to add about 30 degrees to that. So if it's 90 degrees, that means in the race car, it's 120. Trust me, it is not an enjoyable experience if it's 100 plus out. And as you alluded to earlier, we have our qualifying completed. Brett Guzik is going to take that pole position. Dustin Scruggs, our driver from Daytona, 5th place position for him. And Daytona now finds himself sitting outside run. Cole Mykrit, a driver returning from the SSL League. Chad Bass on his outside. Hunter Firestone and Braden Ward round out your top 3 rows.
Yeah, a lot of grid here as well, which is going to be fantastic. As you said, any opportunity. I think we believe that have 19 of Gladiators out here. They're going to be battling their way around here. Against the walls, of course, the fences, all 4 turns here in this classic track here in Atlanta. So it's very similar to Daytona, so perhaps they've given a little bit of... And Jimmy's actually in the chat right now. Oh, Jimmy, hello, welcome. He's figured he's going to give everybody a chance this week. I think you are, Jimmy. But Jimmy, who is your pick to win this race?
Damn, you're putting him on the spot already. Oh, Cole has just lit up his tires. We're not even green flag racing, and he's going to grab a little bit of that throttle early on. You know what? I think that's just kind of alluding to what this race is going to be like. It is going to be loosey-goosey. It's going to be oversteer, and those rear wheels will be spinning, not just because of throttle modulation, but because of drivers getting a bit enterprising. I think that's what we'll call it.
It's the second race too, so the adrenaline's still going to be flowing through these Gladiators. On top of it, you are, as far as that I know, new to iRacing, and take it easy on me, of course. But yeah, you light up those rear tires. You've got to cool them down for a couple of laps, don't you? You can really punish tires early, can't you, in iRacing if you don't basically nurse them or call them like a nice lady's name or something like that. Like some drivers like to name their cars, things like that.
I named my race car.
You did? What did you name your race car?
Poor thing, man. Gotta get the reference.
Oh, cool.
Gotta represent some Lord of the Rings stuff in there, man.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Jimmy, come out there. You haven't answered the question yet. Jimmy, we need that.
He doesn't want to talk to you, Biggles.
Jimmy, we're going to end the stream right now. If you do not answer it, Jimmy, we're ending it.
Right. Goat doesn't want to talk to Biggles. His heart is broken. The field is being controlled by Brett, a new driver here, and he gets turned. A push from behind by Cole. The crash happens before they even cross the start-finish line. A crash in turn 0. Multiple cars involved, and your pole sitter finds themselves in the back of the field. The 11 cars also involved. That's Hunter Firestone. Andrew Storsum involved as well. It's a catastrophe to start off week 2 of Downshift the Truck Series.
I think they listened to us, mate. They get a little bit too excited. Then they hit the gas pedal and the car says, no, not yet. And they've gone around. Before even crossing the line, here's a replay currently at that moment there. Look at that. Just goes a little bit twirly-whirly. I like the colours, of course, very representative of Australia, but that 4 cars caused a lot of issues there for the rest of the field.
So I believe we're running the NASCAR rules where you can't actually pass until you cross start finish line. And we're also going with the driver on pole has the ability to control the field and the ability to accelerate when they decide. So if we look at the way Jimmy Hayden likes to go with these restarts, he likes to go very early. So he enters into the restart zone, he will immediately accelerate. We've seen other drivers in the Street Stock League elect to go for the more conservative, where you kind of punch up the field behind them, you slow down just below pit speed, and then you accelerate. So everybody kind of gets bunched up, and you can go for a faster acceleration, if you will. It seems like Brett wanted to go for that slow start. Cole was not quite prepared for it, and Cole finds themselves in the back bumper of the pole sitter of Brett.
And they find themselves still talking to the team members down the pit lane right now as to repair the damage. Just to clarify to everybody out there, including myself, what happens there with the damage model and the pit lane situation?
Depends on the damage, so they can either tow the race car, they can fully repair the race car, but we do not have fast repair. So they are going to have to fully deal with that damage, but just from an observation standpoint, it didn't look like the cars had that much damage. So my guess is they're going to top off those race cars with fuel, put new tires on, and try to go with an alternate strategy. Maybe you try to go with an Indy 500 strategy where you start to save tires and fuel, kind of go Alexander Rossi status.
So we're on lap 3 of 130, but really we've only had 0.01 of a lap currently at the moment. As the rest of us will be on the pace car. We would call it a safety car, apologize. Pace car, safety car, same thing. Needs to slow these gladiators down from getting too over eager, and even at the start of that race you saw how eager they were. So yeah, some top guns knocked out there from their qualifying. Brett, Hunter, Andrew, they're all at the back of the field currently at the moment, and that actually will allow the likes of Dustin, Cole, and Chad is 1, 2, and 3 there, and I'm loving these liveries as well too through the field there, and they're customized liveries. Of course, these drivers can demonstrate their sponsors and colors and things like that.
You know, I will say the best liveries in the world made by yours truly, Ryan Schubert, on Trading Paints for the worst abominations that have ever been created. If you don't believe me, please tune in to tomorrow's broadcast. That's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and look at Thomas Williams' 69 Racing Machine and look at the beautiful livery that he'll be running tomorrow.
I can't believe I led you into that one. I forgot completely about that you doing that one. Okay, all right. Never again. Drew, well, this is already different from last week, of course. Yeah, guys, what did you think about? Did you expect that there was going to be a pace car automatically? We got about 100 feet, didn't we, over the race line? And even before the race line.
I don't think we went 100 feet because we never actually crossed start finish line. We barely even entered into the restart zone, and pace car lights are out, so we're going to expect our iRacing custom vehicle to pull off out of turn 4 when they get there and then go back into pit lane. It is going to be Dustin Scruggs, our fifth place driver from Daytona International Speedway, controlling the field, and Colt Blankgren is going to be in that topmost lane. Pace car is now in field, controlled by Dustin, the 22 Racing Machine. That's a much cleaner start. He pulls away early. Cole is now 5 car lengths behind. He's going to run that outside lane, and it seems like everybody's decided that they want to go single file early on, and it's a much cleaner restart. Still in the back of the field, they're trying to race their way on forward, but our first corner under green.
Sorry, I had a little bit of a dingo in my backyard trying to shoot the cable at the moment. Yeah, they're going to be sorting themselves out, spacing themselves. Like, you pack your lunchbox, get ready for school. And school will obviously in class right now with lap 6, 130. A lot of racing to go, so Eager Stevens, calm those nerves down. As you can see, the shark car of 21 right now, trying to bring it to the car 5. But Dustin leading this race from Cole, from Chad, and Michelle. Of course, we don't forget about Michelle. She was doing very good in the race last night, but let's see how Michelle can handle these trucks.
Michelle was third fastest overall in practice. Michelle fell back up to 8th in qualifying, and it's nice to see Michelle work her way up into 4th spot. And honestly, this is actually probably the best place Michelle Bowles can be in right now. She's right behind Chad Bass and the #1 Racing Machine, as well as she's going to have support from drivers behind. So the only thing Michelle does is she just needs to hop behind that one car and start to work your way to the back bumper of the 3-car micro.
She's the quickest lady on the planet right now, and she's up into P3. Did she say boys? Yeah, this it might be a boy-dominated race at the moment, but she is showing that the ladies have much more class and much more pace. And that is Michelle. 5 positions she's gained as well, up in a P3. She did set the fastest last lap. Dustin's still leading this race, and what's happening at the moment, still a couple of gladiators down there in the pit lane there fixing those cars. Duct tape all around. Not sponsored by duct tape, of course. Well, it should be. Lap 8.
Let's dive on board right now with Cole Micrit as he attempts to work with the driver in front of the 22 car of Dustin Scruggs. And what we're going to see here is kind of how the lead pack is going to try to work their way away from the pressure behind Michelle Bowles, who took the position away from pass a couple corners ago. Well, now she's going to try to catch this field, and Micrit's not going to allow that to happen. He's going to push Scruggs as far as he can.
Also, remember, it's early days, so you got to take care of those tires. Remember, there's a lot of micromanagement going on inside these cars. It's not just to just throw the car around the track like 130 times. You got to be making sure that you don't overspeed, slide too much. Like every time you slide, the tires wear a little bit. This is a proper racing simulator, of course. The iRacing does measure how the tire pressures onto the track and stuff like that. So, that's a key element that's going to come a little bit later. You go a little bit too close to that fence on the outside, and then you oversteer the wheel, and then all of a sudden, you'll be facing the wrong direction, maybe upside down.
Michelle just turned a wicked quick lap, a 31.25, the fastest lap so far of the course of this race, and that lap's going to earn her the rear spur of Cole Micrit. I think Cole Micrit sees the writing on the wall, Biggles. He realizes that Scruggs currently doesn't have the pace to hold off Voles, as well as Bass and Ward that are starting to close. It was a battle for first place between 2 drivers. It is now a battle of 3 cars, and it could be 5 at a moment's notice. They're starting to close, and honestly, if you're Dustin Scruggs, this is probably one of those racecraft moments where you say, you know what, leading the race is not helping my cause right now. I have drivers closing the distance. I am unable to currently turn fast enough laps, and also, if you're leading the race, that means you are blocking the air for the other drivers around you, so you're burning more fuel, and you're going to have to probably pull into the pits sooner than the other competitors around you.
You're punching the air, exactly. You mentioned it. Have you ever seen the Olympics when you see those cyclists when they go around the tracks, ovals over and over again? They switch positions, obviously, as teams, so that one person breaks the air, one person doesn't, stuff like that, just to take the energy off. That's exactly what Dustin's doing right now. He's using all the energy leading this race. Does he think about, okay, strategy, let me just slot in behind Cole, let Cole do all the energy, let Cole use all the work there. Chad is in there in that 3rd place position. Michelle's hanging in there, Brennan Ward. You're getting a gap there back down to Coy McGrath there in P16. That's 7 or so seconds and change. Still very, very close. Anything happens right now, it's, who knows? But we're only on lap 13, mate. We have a lot of motor racing to go.
Go back over to the 8th place position. Kevin Laney is the driver who's moved up the field the most, currently up 8 positions. Don Milkowitz, our race winner from Daytona, is up 8 positions as well in the 9th position, and Andrew Hardcastle in 11th, currently up 8 positions as well. So we're starting to see the drivers that struggled initially during qualifying work their way towards the mid portion of that field. And we talked about this earlier, Biggles, the fact that it seems like Don Milkowitz takes about 50 or so laps to get comfortable in the race car, and then is able to start to turn faster and faster lap times. So I wouldn't count Don Milkowitz in that 19 Racing Machine out yet.
Yeah, but behind him is Brian. There's already boxed, remember. Brian had a pit stop. So he's climbed his way back up into P10. Well, P11 currently at the moment, as you can see, the battle between the 12, 13, and I was going to say hopefully get a 15 in there, but it's a 5 car. And they're going to be exchanging Christmas cards at the moment as they're going to be starting lap 16. There's that 4-5 car battle there on the back there. You got to remember, on the back there was one of those gentlemen that had a little bit of a spin ladder per se, on the first lap. So there's a bit of a tangle in the wall right now. Well, the wall tangled with that driver, but he's lived to see another day. Medical center not deployed. That's Cole.
Cole Micrit, a very competent driver in oval racing, returning from the Street Stock League. third place in that championship point, one of the few drivers capable of challenging. Jimmy Hayden, a car into the wall, bounces off, collecting another racer. Caution goes out for the second time here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and it seems like a couple of drivers actually got involved after the fact. It's an unfortunate scenario, and Andrew Storzo may have been involved in another accident coming out of pit lane. We see Andrew Hardcastle involved. Not initially involved in that accident, but I think involved in the aftermath, this spinning of the other cars.
Pace car will be definitely deployed again. We're going to get some replay of that. There's Brandon, probably not too happy at the moment as we're going to see the action of what happened. Just a little bit of a tangle, isn't it? A little bit of a moment. Let's have a look at the replay.
Oof. That was an awkward lane elected by the 33 car. That was Brandon Ward. I think what just happened there was he elected to run the high lane and eventually just understeered into the wall, collected another driver. That was the 88 car of Brian Kennedy. Unfortunately, Brian, as you mentioned earlier, had to service that race car due to the first lap accident. Seems like Brian Kennedy is going to be involved in the second caution here in lap 33.
Yeah, Brian's the center of attention right now, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He's the center of the galaxy.
Brian.
He's, yeah, Pat like, well, not just yet, Brian. Brandon Ward in the pit lane right now. It's absolutely interesting. You mentioned the high line. Just to mention, the high line obviously gives you that maximum speed, but you are just dancing with the wall, aren't you, in that situation?
You know what, Biggles? Let's go back to the question that you asked me before qualifying. You asked me, well, Brian, what is going to be the hardest portion of the track? I mentioned the tri-oval. That was the exit of the tri-oval that caught the 33 car off guard. And, you know, there's some irony there. 33 car causes a caution early on. Unfortunately. I was almost said it was like lap 33, but then my brain turned off for a second. I was about to make a joke about what lap it was, but don't mind me. We're just having a 3 brain cell moment. And good news, if you're a fan of the original pole sitter, Brett Guzik, in the 4 car, is now taking the lucky dog. Will be on the lead lap after the initial caution back in lap 1.
He gets to pass the pace car, doesn't he? He just scoot his way around. It's always amazing that I always think when you're under a caution that you can just go absolutely flat out to catch the back of the pack. And as you can see right now in the green and gold Australian color car, on you there, mate. But yeah, it is. So we still have Dustin leading the 22 car from Chad, and Michelle now has found her way up into P3 with Cole, as my voice starts to break a little bit, is in P4.
Yeah, my friend, your voice is going to have to survive for a much longer time because we're only on lap 19.
Oh, cool.
And we're going to be surviving a couple more cautions.
A few people in the pit lane. Yeah, it's getting busy down there.
I wonder if these were also involved in the accident. That was Kevin Laney and Andrew Hardcastle were involved in part of that accident as well. I don't believe the 69 car of Crawford was, so I think we're actually starting to see the actual pit stop strategy take place. These are the early takers in that pit stop trying to go for the over-under. And you know what? It might work because Dustin Scruggs, Chad Bass, and Michelle Voles are electing to not pit currently.
And just to clarify, as I mentioned earlier, it is Amanda's going to have to put some fuel and gas in. They're not going to complete the whole race. Tires, of course, you can risk it for the biscuit if you really want to, but you got to slap some more, petroleum into that car, and then try to bring it to the end of the race. Now, of course, it's pretty inevitable. I'd say at some point there will be another safety car. We're at lap 20 of 130. We've already seen 2 of those pace cars.
My concern is if we start to see more and more cautions, our drivers are going to kind of go for these off-meta pit strategies, if you will, Biggles, and they'll start to consume tires that are not on tire degradation, but just through the alternate tire strategy, might find themselves in a bad position. The reason I mentioned that, let's go back to week number 8 of the Street Stock League. I believe it was at USA International Speedway, where we saw 13 cautions, and it was a bad day because drivers were electing for off-meta strategies, and they were trying to go, oh, I'm going to pit now, I'm going to get this brand new set of tires, and then they pit 5 laps later, or they try to go for that strategy a couple times throughout the race, and it didn't end up working out for them because they had to go for a long stint with no tires underneath them.
As they bunch up right now too, you got to look at that. So from P1 all the way down to P15, Brenton, well, now it's been exchanged with Brett. That's 6 seconds and change off that as they're bunching up. The safety car is going to tuck its way back into my garage, hopefully, later on, and let these trucks make their way around. It's fantastic Atlanta Motorway Speedway anytime soon. Just pausing it at the moment. Hello, everybody in the YouTube chat. A chance to actually read and get your remarks on the situation at the moment. Plenty of racing to go here, of course. Nick, g'day. At least your wreck yesterday was not your fault. Both these guys get caught other people's messes. Yeah, you will. It depends on which way you want to go, left or right. In fact, there is a strategy, I believe it or not, to tell drivers if there's an accident up ahead. Do you go to the left or to the right?
You go to whatever lane is open. It is currently all on Dustin Scruggs, who takes the green flag here, starting us off now for the third time today. And look at this, Biggles. He once again runs away with an excellent start for him. Cole Micrit was kind of caught sleeping as well. He's now about 10 car lengths behind, and the same thing can be said for Chad Bass. Where were these guys? I guess they just weren't prepared for that fast start of Dustin Scruggs, who's exactly where he wants to be. We're seeing a challenge from underneath. That is John Sears. A great run-up, and we actually haven't talked about John Sears Jr. at all today, up 9 positions.
Yeah, John's just bringing it for the biscuit. That's what you want to be. You want to be that quiet achiever, right? Nobody even knows what you're doing in the background. There's John. And, hey, wave to us, John. Doing a fantastic job, putting a little bit of pressure right now, obviously, too, on chat. But, yeah, Dustin, well, I mean, mate, if you can't make it and win races, safety car driver definitely could be a future career for you because you have safety car restarts brilliantly.
Don't look now, Biggles, but look who found themselves in 5th place. That is Don Milkowitz. A horrible qualifying for Don. All the way back in the 17th position, now up to 4th place. We talked about how Don kind of required a few laps underneath them to be able to turn fast laps and to be able to run with the best of them. Seems like that storyline once again is panning out as Don Milkowitz has flown through the field and is now starting to pressure Chad Bass for the 3rd place position.
Yeah, Don must work for NASA, mate, because he's rocketing his way up and he's 13 places, you said, gained. And the man, of course, that's leading the championship that won the last race. But still, it's early days. Don't give Don too much encouragement just yet. He knows what he has to do, as well as every one of these 19 gladiators know exactly what they have to do.
3 wide between Cole Micrit, Crawford, and Nogar, and they're still going to maintain 3 wide. The 99 of Crawford up into the wall just a bit, but is able to wrestle that race car back down to the bottom portion of that car. And it seems like Cole Micrit is struggling after this restart. Restarted in the 3rd place position and has now fallen multiple spots, currently running in 7th, and is still being pressured by Brian Kennedy, who has had to pit now 2 different times, being involved both in the lap 1 crash and the lap 19 crash.
A lot of pit stops have already occurred with some of these gladiators out there this evening. You can see right now, fantastic camera angle. Now the battles are resuming, isn't it? Now the elbows are out. It's like, okay, we've had a couple of laps, get the tire temperature up, and now let's see if we get a few maneuvers and exchanges done here. This is lap 27. This is spicing up. This is heating up. Don't blink. Don't go anywhere.
This is great news if you're a fan of Don Milkowitz or Nogar, because everybody behind you is battling. It is currently the 2nd lead group being led by Cole Micrit, and they're just fighting. So if you're a driver currently running in the top 6 positions, you're laughing all the way to the bank with this, because the drivers behind you are slowing themselves up. They're fighting too wide, and every single time they jostle for position, Biggles, they slow themselves down and allowing that lead group to get farther and farther away.
It always happens in the battling of the dirty air, exactly, yeah. But obviously a pace car can just tuck everybody back up together. Inevitable, it's going to happen. But then again, you're also, the cars up ahead are breaking the air, so allowing a little bit of a slipstream. And they have been well behaved at the moment, aren't they, mate? I'm surprised. What's going on? Did they get the memo?
I think we're kind of in that limbo area where our drivers, they have gotten the memo. They don't really want to fight, but at the same time they want to fight. So they're kind of going for, all right, I'm going to pass you, but we're going to be a little bit more passive because, let's be honest, Biggles, there's no point in making some big grandiose move right now. You're in lap 29. You still have 100 laps underneath you. That is plenty of time for drivers around you to make mistakes, because I hate to be, death here and the scythe wielder, but drivers will be making mistakes.
I was going to say, mate, you must have casted enough races to know drivers will never, ever, ever pay attention to that. If gap car, that's what goes through the mind of a race driver as they're flying these trucks around this track at just speeds that your grandma would be scared of.
That's very true. Honestly, my grandma would be scared of going 5 miles per hour in a car, let alone 120 plus miles per hour. To be fair, speed is relative, and if everybody else around you is going 100 plus miles per hour, it actually isn't as noticeable as a lot of people think. But I digress with that. Back into the race, we started to see things get a little bit more tame, as you're alluding to. Colt Micron has started to run away from the drivers around him. That's Caleb Clifton currently up 3 positions, and William Promise in the 51 racing car up 5 positions.
I'm curious right now because John Sears is up into P2, great, gaining 10 positions, but Dustin's yet to box being pit stops. Now, John has, so John's tires are going to be a little bit better. He's got to be putting a massive amount of pressure on Dustin right now.
Oh, tons of pressure. But again, we have to kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier. There's 32 laps in the race, and if you start to lean on somebody really hard now, you're A, not going to be making friends. B, people aren't going to want to push you and help you along during the later stages of the race, and also they might want to fight you in pit lane after the fact. One of the worst things that you could do during kind of the mid portion or the early portion of the race where we currently reside is just lean on somebody heavy, because you're going to slow both of yourselves down.
You lean on me. Man, this technology I'm learning at the moment. As I Leighton.
Is that a euphemism?
Yeah, Leighton's leading a little bit there on Dustin, and John C is just lurking in the background there. That's the battle for P1 currently at the moment there. So he's gone the high ride, the high wall. We all know how dangerous that can be. He's going to get it around the outside.
So I want to return back to our lap 1 ruling. Race control has just caught up with it. It is determined as a self-spin, and a warning was issued to the 04 car. That was our pole sitter. That was music. And that's just an unfortunate position to be in. Again, it was that, as you talked about, the early race shenanigans. It was very cold tires, and it was just a driver mistake that unfortunately ramped up a few drivers. Hunter Firestone and Andrew Storzem was also involved in that early lap incident.
Yeah, Brett currently at the moment running the 04 car, running a P8 as we are watching this battle a little bit further up the field there. On board right now, I'm wondering, as we're on board with Chaz, of course, the number 1 car running a P6, what happens if Chaz pushes that big red button? I don't know what's going to happen.
So it's that little twist thing that is either the fuel pump, it's either the battery, or it is fire suppression. So
you think he can push that 19 car off to another galaxy if he pushes it? I'm not quite sure, but that sets the car up ahead for me.
Let me tell you, you don't want to hit those buttons, man. Those buttons are scary.
Yeah, Don remembered the man once again up 12 positions. He won the last race. So Don, I think Don's just sitting there quietly going, guys, this is mine. I can win this.
Don sat there very quietly back at Daytona. He put his feet on the dashboard, his hands, behind his helmet, and drove pretty much 95 laps with his knees up the steering wheel. And it's really those last few laps with Andrew Storzem pushing them across the finish line that really mixed things up. And also didn't hurt that we saw Jimmy Hayden get involved into an unfortunate incident. And there's the 04 car of Brett, who was involved again in that lap 1 incident. He's back on the lead lap, though. He only had one lap of pit repairs, so it's nice to see them back into the thick of it, currently in 7th position.
Good thing about a pace car, doesn't it? It just gives you an opportunity to come back into the field there, as you said. And by the way, just as a disclaimer, notice out there, as to what Mr. Brian had said, Mr. Chief, yeah, you don't take your hands off the steering wheel. Don't use your feet to control the car, okay? All right? We need to focus. Stop looking at Twitter. Stop looking at Twitch. Stop looking at YouTube. Focus on this motorway. Yep. There you go.
I've said this a few times on broadcasts, but really your job as a driver, you have about a bajillion, billion things that your brain is processing, right? And I promise you about 5 of them are usable real-time information. right? Like a lot of people will be talking about, like, ooh, timing and scoring. What about that? No, your job is to be placing that car on your entry, your braking point, your corner exit, your apex. Like, you have to be placing the car in the right spot, using that peripheral vision to take into account other things going on. Let's say you're currently Chad Bass in the 1 car. Well, your peripheral vision is going to be marking that the 04 car is going to be on the extreme high line. And honestly, talk about Brett in the 04 car. Man, that is an aggressive lane that will not be available to our racing drivers towards the end of Atlanta, because that is going to be full of marks.
Yeah, that's right. Bubbles become a big play here as we're aboard of Brett. As you see the 19 car, Don up ahead. Now, Brett's going to think about the high line on the outside. And this is the stage right now. Lap 40 of 130. Ryan, Chief. Oh, look at that highlight. And that's just like, you're in another galaxy, another planet. There's a few cars there behind. What do you do in this situation? Are you just trying to nurse your fuel? You nurse your car, nurse your tires, and just slowly try to gain a position or two as you progress further into this race?
Depends on who you are, Biggles. So I'll answer that question backwards. Let's talk about Dustin Scrubs. He has yet to pit. He is one of the few drivers who have yet to go into pit lane. Or if you're somebody like Brett Kusick, you've been in pit lane now twice. You have topped up on fuel and you have fresh tires. So if you're Brett, you are 100% pedal to the metal because you have the tires underneath you. If you're Dustin Scruggs and the 22 car leading the race, you are as conservative as possible. You are minding your tires, you're minding your fuel, and you're trying to hit that fuel number, and you're trying to keep that car on track for as long as possible, because the worst thing that could happen to Dustin Scruggs right now is a green flag pit stop and find themselves a lap. Field for the most part, very spread out. And you know what? Let's dive on board with Don Milkwitz, up 11 positions, the 19 racing machine currently running in 6th position, and kind of get a good litmus test, Biggles, if you will, for what a fast line looks like. And as we hop on board with 19 car as they elect to run that outside lane.
Yeah, I'd like to feel how be on board with that car so he's going to manage his way around. There's only 4 corners, of course. There is right on cue from our brilliant production team. Look at that. It's banking. It feels good. It's getting heating up, of course, and we have plenty of laps to go, 44 of 130. That's what it's been. So, does Dustin really want to pray for some sort of like pace car now? And
100%.
Yeah. All right. So, Brett's the man that's currently running in P5. That's had 2 pit stops this evening, as well as Williams running. Oh, yeah, it is. Tap side by side. Good. But yeah, Christmas cards are coming early here in Atlanta.
We saw actual damage to the left front driver corner panel of the 19 car of Don Milkwitz. This almost pays homage to the exact accident of Jimmy Hayden back at Daytona International Speedway, where we saw damage similar to that, and Jimmy Hayden was unable to run anywhere close to speeds of pace. So this might be the undoing of Don Milkwitz. If that car is damaged from an aerodynamic standpoint, he might not be able to turn laps fast enough to work their way back up to the top position. As I say that, it seems like Don Milkwitz actually has enough race car and enough aerodynamics to still be able to maintain that position.
I suppose not scraping onto the track at the moment. You can see that. Question out there for you, my friend there, Chief, is from Simple Energy. Said, did Cole have some sort of failure or something? The guy dropped from second to last on the lead lap.
It is very possible. So what we saw out of Cole Lightgrit at the start of this restart, Cole was running in 3rd place position, and then during this stint, Cole has just fallen back. I mean, it's very possible that Cole banged wheels with another competitor. I mean, probably something very similar to what happened to Don Milkwitz, probably something very similar that happened to Jimmy Hayden back at Daytona International Speedway. Again, when you have 19 gladiators, Biggles, as you like to reference them as, you know what? Things happen on track that we sometimes don't see, and I'd probably lean on the fact that Cole has some type of damage.
Yeah, you might absolutely be right with that one at the moment. We've seen a bit on a nice little battle here at the moment. I call them gladiators, mate, because do you want to be in this ring with them? Because they're fighting. I think they're fighting their way.
Bro. There's no place on earth I'd rather be. Actually, I lied. I'd love to be in the broadcast booth. So I'll let the gladiators fight most of the time. Yes, I think everyone would love to be in the gladiator ring. You know, ripping their shirts off, grabbing their swords, sharpening them, and hopping on their chariot to slay wild boar.
They're grabbing their gear shifts, my friend. Aren't we in Downshift Esports, if I'm not mistaken? We certainly are. And we are lap 48 of 130. There's a nice tangle going on. Dustin's still in this race. Dustin's still yet to box. And handling those tires quite well at the moment. So Hayden, pay attention. Dustin's in town.
I have an alternative hypothesis, too, to talk about where Cole Micron is running. So Dustin Scruggs, Michelle Bowles, Boy McGrath, and Cole Micron are the 4 drivers that have yet to pit. So they are currently running on 50-lap-old tires and practically no fuel in the race car. So Michelle Bowles, Coy McGrath, and Cole Micron are currently running 12th through 14th. So they are the last drivers on the lead lap, and Dustin Scruggs is the only driver to have yet pit still running anywhere competitive. And last lap turned a 33.34, which is about 2 seconds off the standard pace.
Yeah, they're probably, I'm not quite sure if they're drinking some Fosters at the moment. You can just breathe Fosters. Michelle, what happened to Michelle as well? So she was running right up there, wasn't she? And
my
now
guess is it's the
she's
lack of
12.
Yeah, so right, she's right now with, so Voles is running with McGrath, Micrit, and those are the 3 drivers who are still on the lead lap who have yet to pit. So my guess is probably something that's due with pit strategy. Dustin Scruggs is currently into the pit lane. Now we have to monitor Michelle Voles. She's in the pit lane as well. Same thing with Coy McGrath. This is going to be our first green stop pit strategy. Our front runners took a gamble here, Biggles, and if they go a lap down, that huge gamble will not pay off. It's currently Nogar that will take the lead of this race. Last seen in pit lane, lap 18.
I'm quite surprised that they would do the boxing so early because the times are looking pretty good on the timesheet, obviously, for the laps. But now that'll put Leighton into the lead of this race there from John Sears and John, obviously, John Sears Jr. Brilliant. 10 positions gained, 9 positions gained from our current race winner, leader, per se. And there it is. They probably were praying for a pace car, but did not come because the drivers have now settled themselves down there. The heart rate monitors have lowered a little bit lower than what you would expect that they had at the start of the race. But we do have a race. It's still early, of course. We're just 1/3 of the way through the race. So, g'day, guys out there. Doc, Brandon, and Drew, man that runs this league. G'day.
So we're also seeing the alternative pit strategy. The drivers that pit after the lap 1 incident, that's going to be Don Milkowitz as well as Brian Kennedy are into the pit lane as well. So the alternate strategy, Biggles, does not seem to be working because now Dustin Scruggs is barely on the lead lap. He actually, I believe, went a lap down, but was able to return to the lead lap because of those fresh tires. And if we analyze where Nogard was running, Nogard currently turned the last lap a 33.44, and on the out lap of Dustin Scruggs, they turned a 31.59.
But Dustin's got the fresh boots and the pace and a bit of a clear track, so we'll keep an eye on him. He will be a lap down, but anything can happen, and anything will happen. It always does. So the man that was leading the race currently, as you can see, right on board the 22 car, he's running in P9. Look at that clear track, so he can just focus on his times, try to bring in. It's going to get a little bit of a drift coming up there from the car that you can see just up the road there. So Dustin now has to put his mind to his magic and bring this car home. But plenty of racing to go. Absolutely. What do you think about this?
So right now, it seems like our race cars have about 50 to 52 laps of endurance. It was Cole Micrit who turned 52 laps of endurance in these cars. So that's probably our pit window. So our drivers who last pit around lap 18 through 19, that's going to be Nolgar, Sears Jr., and Guzik. They're going to be the drivers expecting to pit around the lap 75 mark.
Oh, I like you're precising the lap pit stops. Great. What does the pit stop cost you around here time-wise?
It looks like we're looking around a minute 6 for the entire in and out lap. So that's going to be pulling into pit lane, stopping, servicing the race car, and then pulling back on the field. That's at least what Cole Micra did. Gareth Crawford just did a 108 for the in lap of the pit strategy.
Very interesting. That's obviously pending no repairs, no duct tape. As we're watching Chad just make his way around. Yeah, Chad has got some pace right now, hasn't he? Look at that. Passing 2 cars in just a couple of corners. Man's on a mission. Chad up into P9.
Well, that's just the tire strategy that's panning out, right? It was the top 6 drivers that were on the lead lap moments ago. Pardon me, top 7 drivers. It was Kevin Laney, the last driver in the lead lap, and the last driver to pit back in lap 19. And now Dustin Scruggs has not only worked their way to 8th position, but has earned their lap back.
Yeah, his last lap was a 31.7. So he is the quickest man on the track by about 2 seconds currently at the moment. As we're watching, it looks like Brett pitting right now. That's just to visit his team there and say hello, so some autographs.
Now, this is interesting. The OFAR car of Brett Guzik pit back in lap 19. At least that's what timing and scoring was demonstrating. So Guzik might be attempting to neutralize a strategy to be on the same strategy more or less as some of the fast drivers like Dustin Scruggs, Don Milkowitz, and Garrett Crawford. So this might be kind of the identification from the 04 machine saying, hey, I really like the alternative strategy that the fast drivers are running right now, and I'm going to see if that works.
And Brett's been in the pit lane more than anybody else this evening, 3 times. So is it going to pay off exactly the alternative strategy? He's currently running a P9, just behind Chad. Dustin now into P7, still lapping pretty much quicker than everybody else on this planet. Obviously here in Atlanta, he's doing 31.8. Everybody else is in the 33s and 34s. So yeah, it's gaining a bit of time here, and it's going to be on the back of Kevin in no time.
So I think what you're kind of alluding to there, Biggles, is really the value of these brand new tires. And, you know, at the lap 60 mark, those new tires is just getting our drivers back to the lead lap. What it's really going to matter is when we get to sub 30 laps left in this race and we have that off chance yellow flag. And it's really whatever tire strategy pitted last will be the best strategy, because my concern is if you're pitting around lap 75, that means you're going to have to service the race car at least once, or you're banking on a caution. Same thing for the drivers that are pitting right now. You're going to have to pit one more time, and it's whatever one of those pit strategies is kind of last is going to be the best strategy. Or we'll see, I guess, kind of a tertiary strategy take place. So all pit together under a single yellow flag, and everybody will be back on the same strategy.
Sinful Energy says 52, 100, and then 30 lap stretch to the finish. Yeah, exactly. I'm new to this one, so I do definitely rely on your knowledge there, Chief, as well as everybody on the YouTube world. This is still great racing. 62 of 130. So now we're getting to the 50% mark, and now, yeah, they're starting to spread, of course, across this track here in Atlanta. And now, once it's man versus machine, or woman versus machine, of course, too, because we do still obviously have Michelle here. It's just how you, it's managing time, isn't it? Just nursing time.
I mean, honestly, one of the hardest things to do is as you're talking about that nursing time, it's when to pit. I mean, we're seeing so many different things going on, and this is going to be a battle of the strategies. The 42 car finds themselves rolling on into pit lane. This is Caleb Clifton. I'm not sure when's the last time that we saw them in pit lane. However, Biggles, 3 cars have entered into pit lane, and it seems like these cars have a ton of damage. It was a 51 car of Perhamus that was in there as well. I have a suspicion that they may have made contact on track and had a nice painting session with the wall.
Exactly. Nothing. I'll get the rubber hammer out there. I'll throw those dints out there. If there's a replay, of course, out. Fantastic production team will show that one. But I don't think there was any major things, as our Leighton's still leading this one from John Tears, and Dustin is now currently, am I not mistaken, the telemetry is correct, up into P3? I'm not quite sure that's correct.
I'm just excited for this 30-lap shootout. Whatever strategy is going to be dominant is going to be incredible. You know, let's start to work our way through the field. Nogar has been leading for quite some time. One of the drivers on the secondary strategy, John Sears Jr., and most importantly, Dustin Scruggs, the driver that has led the field the most today, finds themselves in the third place position, turning bangers of a lap. Currently running a 32.22. John Sears Jr., a 33.62, as well as Nogar, also a 32.62. So we see Dustin Scruggs on an absolute tear and probably momentarily will be leading this race. Now, the concern I have between Nogar and Sears Jr. is the fact that I don't see those drivers drafting. I don't see those drivers working together. And Scruggs, with no help whatsoever, no draft, is just putting on beautiful laps. To be fair, new tires, but still a wonderful run nonetheless.
Dustin came out with those boots absolutely on fire, didn't he? I mean, he came out, he was doing 31s. He was setting absolute times. When I said before, everybody else is doing 33s, 34s. He was doing 31s. And he's really utilized those tires. But has he cooked them a little too early, as you mentioned? Because there's a bit of time to go. And Dustin, of course, the man that finished, well, of course, he finished 5th in the first round in Daytona. He's on fire. He's prospering his way, obviously, in the 22 car to try to get more and more there. And I have to say that's a good recovery drive, but it's going to come to that strategy, isn't it? Can he make his tires go to the end, or does he have to box again?
You know what? Since we have a beautiful tear from Dustin Scruggs, let's dive on board with a 22 car and listen to what another lap looks like here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Man, Scruggs is just flying. I mean, listen to the throttle flat the entire way around this track. You can hear that small breeze of the throttle, but really Biggles, he is just on that tear, and I think he sees the blood in the water. He knows that John Sears Jr. is right in front of him. In fact, you can actually see him in the entry point of turn 3 there when he was in the mid portion of the exit, or I guess kind of midway through the back straightaway. So he knows that there's drivers in front of him, and he is coming.
Oh, he's annihilating. I mean, 162 plus miles per hour. I mean, 5-star Uber rating. That's how I need to get to where I need to be.
If my Uber driver Biggles ever drove like this, they are not getting a 5-star. They are getting a flat 0. And
mate,
I'm calling the police too.
They'll get you to Atlanta at 130 laps. I can tell you that right now.
I don't want my Uber driver to get me to Atlanta, 2,000 miles in an hour. That's just no bueno.
He's leading this race. He gets my 5 stars. When you guys think about that, so Dustin lead this race from Brett, Chad, and there's Jared there, C. Crawford, and Don. Don't forget Don. Don't you forget about the old Don. He's the man that won the last race. He's currently running in P5, up 12 positions here on lap 71.
Yeah, we see that change because Nogar elected to, again, run that alternative strategy. I think the strat that we see out of Scruggs, Michelle Bowles is probably the ultimate or the best strategy to have, because, I mean, they're going to have a 30-lap shootout on those tires where we're probably going to see the other drivers maybe with a inferior tire strategy and more laps on the tires. Again, we're just going to have to see where that caution falls. And the last time that we saw a yellow flag was all the way back in lap 19.
Looking at the times at the moment between the top 6 drivers, including Michelle, that's climbed her way back up there into P6 position. Yeah, they're all lapping the 32s, 33s. Late 32s, 33s was in the battle at the moment currently occurring here. Downshift Esports, 42 car versus the 0, 112, 1-2. It's a dozen.
Currently our only battle here on track. That's Caleb Clifton, the 42 car, right behind Nogar. And we're kind of seeing a deviation away from strategy. We're seeing kind of Caleb Clifton fishing for lanes right now. Caleb is trying to define, is the high line the best for him? Is the low lane best right now? Probably the best for Caleb Clifton is wherever Nogar is in front of him. There's the top lane. That's going to force Caleb Clifton to fall back 3 truck position.
Yeah, I'm impressed as well too. Brandon as well. So you see this battle. He's saying, and I agree with you. Brandon, this guy's impossible for staying green this long. These trucks are impossible to wrangle themselves in 20 laps on tires. They're doing it. So I'm glad you're impressed, Brandon, because I'm absolutely impressed, and I hope you're impressed as well too, Mr. Chief.
You know, this is Nick Lighty's team, I believe. I think he is rocking these Team 0X, which is one of the teams that you were referencing yesterday in the Skip Barber. We were talking about it with Thomas Williams' car, so I have a sneaking suspicion that Thomas is going to find himself promoted to the Nick Lighty racing team of X or 0X. Michelle Wolves on the top lane, getting passed by Caleb Clifton and Nogar. This is concerning to me because, I mean, Michelle was hitting, 12 laps ago? Pardon me, 16 laps ago. So just seeing her tire strategy maybe not be as effective as she once did, especially when you give the fact that she kind of just had that big oopsie moment, slid all the way up to the top end of the racetrack. And she's actually, looks like, spinning those rear tires on the straightaways as well.
I like how you guys call it straightaways. We call it straights to the stray, but it's fine. Yeah, Michelle's actually still, she's in the same place as she started the race, 8th. She hasn't gained or lost anything.
No, Biggles, I actually think that it's probably the same. Straightaways, it's the same thing. Probably straights is used more commonly, actually.
Yeah, that's a little language barrier thing there, guys. But yeah, I like it. I like hearing it. Also, people from the UK do it as well as everybody from the United States. But, you know, we're Australian, mate. Everything's upside down. But Michelle's not upside down. She's still cruising in there in that P8 position as we're watching right now. A nice little run here.
Hey, hold on, time out. You can't say that you're upside down. You're literally on the equator currently.
Yeah, but I am currently at the moment. But let's just spin this one around because Chad and Garrett...
You can't say you're upside down. I'm protesting. Unnecessary roughness, Biggles, 15-yard penalty. I don't know football. That's the best I got. Yeah.
Mate,
I do racing stuff.
I'm going to send you into the backyard to play with my dingoes, as we're going to see at the moment. Chad's going to be playing Garrett, as we're on board currently at the moment with Garrett, the 69 car. You know what's better than 69? 88, because it get 8 twice. Let's go racing here in Atlanta Motorsport Speedway. Yeah, did I just did that? Sorry, apologies.
Nice. Nice. Oh, but the battle still continues here with Crawford. Again, that inside lane is working just for a bit, and then it's the faster line on the top side for Chad Bass. We're going to continue to see this trade back and forth. Honestly, I'd like to see Garrett Crawford probably take that position away, be a little bit more aggressive there, and there's the position being now confirmed by Crawford, who takes that third place position away from Chad Bass. And you want to talk about big movers right now. Garrett Crawford is up 10 positions, qualified in the 13th spot, and the only driver that has moved more positions this race, well, that is Don Milkowitz, currently in 6th position, or probably 6th place, up 11 spots.
Keep an eye on Garrett's, yeah, exactly, as we're seeing on board with Don. Now, Dustin's lapping 133.1s. 33s, most of the drivers are in, so, well, it's just super close. Dustin's still putting in some really banking, cracking laps as we're on board right now of this battle. It's still continuing, isn't it, between Mr. Norgard and, oh, has he got it? I think he has got it done there on Garrett. See Crawford. Can he see the Crawford? No, it's in his rearview mirrors.
Again, the run that you see out of Norgard is the fact that they pitted on lap 69 compared to the drivers around distance trucks pitted on lap 50. Music pitted on lap 57, 53 for Crawford, 42 for Chad Bass, 62 for Caleb Clifton, and then 51 for Don Milkowitz.
Just to clarify, you said they put the box that's like they boxed on, which means that tires obviously a lot older now. We're still at lap 82 of 130, so we're about 50 or change to go on laps. Those tires are still fall off the cliff, won't they? But the times are still pretty much even Stevens, I have to say, between the top 10 drivers at the moment.
Again, everything is even because the strategies are all different, right? Drivers are going to be moving up, drivers are going to be moving back. They're kind of like an engine's piston. Somebody's going to be taking the lead, somebody's going to be falling back, but it all will neutralize at some point, and that's going to be probably around the lap 100 mark. So just keep monitoring what's going on because our drivers will be planning for that next pit stop strategy. The maximum endurance for these cars is lap 52, so we're actually now inside that window. So if any driver pits right now here on lap 84, you will have enough endurance to cross the finish line, assuming that we green flag race till the end of Atlanta Motor Speedway.
But if we don't get a caution or anything like that, they can they take those tires to the end?
I mean, you could take them to the end. It won't be quick.
But you might be lapping, what, 50 seconds a lap at that point? Yeah, but I was just going to say, you're not going to be competitive, are you? So this is interesting. You got to think, Brett, running in P2. Now, he started on pole, and he's taken 3 pit stops. The number 4 driver right now, you can see. The green and gold. Good on you, Brett. I like those colors. But yeah, he's had extra 2 pit stops over the Dustin that's leading this race. So that's going to be pretty impressive, right? The speed, that shiny helmet that he has right now, that pink helmet. Yeah, that's right. If you get red, pink is the new red.
There is a caveat to that, though. You have 4 sets of tires. You use one in practice, and if he's pitted 3 times, that accounts for the other 3 sets of tires. So does that mean the pit stop that Brett Guzik took around the lap 19 mark? Did he take tires then? Did Brett take tires in lap number 1? Because if he took tires during the 3 pit stops that they've had, that means he's not going to have tires at the end of the race.
That's one for the YouTube chat down there, guys. Get down there into Brett's team garage there and start showing the microphone, as we've seen the car 69. And we're seeing the car number 1, I believe they're boxing. Chad. Yep, Garrett and Chad gonna battle it out in pit lane.
So this is the first part of that alternative strategy that we're talking about, Biggles. The 69 machine, the 1 machine can make it to the finish on tires and on fuel. However, they are going to have no tires underneath them. So to compare, an early stint of fresh tires turns 31 lows, and an old stint of racing tires on the maximum endurance, about 50 laps, is turning high 33s. So by the end of the race, Crawford and Bass are going to be slow compared to the other drivers who are going to be doing a 30-lap shootout. Again, the real gamble comes down to the fact you have an extra set of tires, and will there be a caution?
Well, Bass's gap to leader at the moment is, we'll get that information in a second, but it's quite a little bit back, but he's going to have some fresh boots. Look at the traffic that he has to deal with as well.
This outlap, those tires are going to be icy cold. It's going to take him about 3 or 4 turns to have those tires be viable. And there you go, there's 3 turns underneath, and the pressure is going to come from behind. Michelle Bowles is going to suffer the wrath of those brand new tires. She's going to get freight trained on by, and there's nothing Michelle can do. Honestly, allow those drivers to high line, make them work the position a little bit, then rely on that ground for that small window that you have in.
Yeah, but Chad's just unlapping himself because Michelle's actually running a P7. Chad's just like trying to get his way back up there. You can see the pace at the moment. Look at my pace. Look at the grip. It's like taking candy from a baby. He's just sitting there listening to some Italian opera or something like that. He's listening to that race car right now. And yeah, there it is. Oh, Michelle, that's not the way you enter the pit lane. Got to reverse back, beep, 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 and then get back into the pit lane there. Come on. You're doing such a fantastic jump too, Michelle. You can still plenty of time to go, of course, lap 90 of 130, but it's time to go. Here's a replay.
Michelle just grabbed too much brake here in the end, just trying to carry that rolling speed off of turn 4. Wheels lock up. The steering wheel themselves, she try to balance out race car going in, try to counter steer the overlock, and unfortunately Michelle Voles was unable to keep the car underneath her. Then she finds that car actually might be severely damaged as she is keeping a lengthy pit stop right now.
I just would have gassed it and just used the fence as like a bumper car. As we're watching Dustin at the moment there. Dustin, we are watching the race leader, of course. He's got about 11-second gap there to Brett down the road. Now, they're still lapping in the 133s. You said they're going to drop to the, what, the 34s, 35s when those tires start falling off the cliff?
That's correct. Yeah, we're going to see high 33s. I don't know if anybody's yet actually published a 34, but if you're close to that 50-lap endurance window, you most certainly might be in the 34s, which is, again, off pace when the fastest time today is a 31:05.
And he's got traffic up ahead too, so it's clear these back markers. Back markers obviously being the cars he'll be lapping anytime soon. Is that always the number 3 car is going to be putting in there and visiting his team down there. And the number 3 car, of course, will be, can't even see the name. There you go, Cole. G'day, Cole.
Now, there was a hypothesis rolling around for some of our drivers on the YouTube end, saying that Cole is brutally off pace. I wonder if that race car is damaged. And if you look at the passenger side of the race car, driver is right, there is a giant paint mark on the side of that car. So it is very likely that there is some cosmetic damage that is affecting the aerodynamic performance of Mike Ritt's 3 car, because we saw the exact same thing. If we go back to Daytona International Speedway, where Jimmy Hayden had a bit of cosmetic damage, it affected the downforce, it affected the aero, and rendered that car uncompetitive.
Let me run out there and buff that out for a full Cole. I'll get that, mate. I'll shine that out. 94 of 130 at the moment. Dustin's still leading this race from Brett, from Leighton. And he's a nice little squabble going. The 69 car's always been in the mix, hasn't he? Always upside down, right way around. I'm not quite sure. It's Garrett. Michelle is also just hanging in the background there as well. And that's Garrett versus Chad L. Going to come and visit pit lane.
Oh, Dustin Scruggs is early. The last time that we saw Scruggs pit was exactly on lap 50. So now he's pitting with a driving stint of 46, so within and underneath that window. So I wonder if he's trying to kind of neutralize the strategy. He sees a lot of the guys in the alternative strategy kind of pit now. So he's like, all right, I'm going to make sure that we're in the exact same position. It is quite a gamble, and another reason why this might be taking place is that if we see a yellow, it might be completely different. And as you're talking about, here is Milkowitz.
And so Dom was in, the man that won the last race. The man that's probably the strategist as well as Brett comes in here. So this is it. This is the last stint, isn't it? This is the one you said where I don't think they want to gamble on the 33 times. They want to get down into the 31s. So they're going to the pit lane, getting some fresh boots, maybe a little of a splash and dash for fuel. That'll allow Leighton to stay out there, Caleb Clifton and John Sears to be in the resume of this race. Now, look at that. They're going to cut a lot of work to do, but look at that fresh boot difference as it comes out of the pit lane and says, well, sorry, mate, I have to take candy from the baby.
All right. I have a theory for you. Do you mind if I put my tinfoil hat on my head?
No, mate, I'm sorry. There's no 5G allowed.
Cheers, man. Anyways, all right. So Jimmy Hayden tends to be the driver that dictates the strategy. He's usually a driver up front, and he's usually the driver that calls, hey, guys, we're pitting now. We see one of the highest variance in pit lane strategy and pit lane sequencing here in Atlanta. If we go back to the Street Stock Leagues, if we go back to the ARCA series, as well as the Truck series, the small examples that we have, it was Jimmy Hayden, the one setting the pace and the one setting when the pit happened. Jimmy Hayden and Castillo also isn't here today. So could that be a reason why we have this large variance in strategy?
That's the question obviously for Jimmy out there. Is Jimmy still paying attention as we're watching Brett? Yeah, Jimmy, come on. Will the real Jimmy please stand up? Step out of the shadows, my friend, and into the spotlight here of the race, because we're on line 98 of 130. This will be the sprint race now. I think the pit stops are going to be pretty much done and dusted. As you can see right now, the 22 car there of Kevin and Brandon going for it. 21 car, my apologies. 21 and 5? Look at that, Kevin. 5 positions gained currently at the moment, sitting in P7.
We still see a few drivers running that alternative strategy. Nogar, Caleb Clifton, John Sears, William Berhamis, as well as Kevin Laney, Henderson, Ryan Kennedy has still yet to pick last pit lane was on lap 51. So he is within that window of 52 laps of endurance. So honestly, if you are rooting for Nogar, Clifton, or John Sears Jr., they might be in the best position to win this race if there isn't a yellow flag.
Keeping an eye on the time deltas at the moment there, we're still seeing some of those gladiators at the top there. Tire differences are just massive as you're watching that. Just eating for breakfast, isn't it? It's the 4 little points, isn't it? The contact the track. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Brett, the number 4 car, as we're watching William just visit the pit lane there, the 51 car. Brett is on fire, mate. Brett is absolutely on fire. A 31.36. The man that started on pole position, I believe, in this race, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere along the way, currently running in P5, is lighting up the timing boards left, right, and center, as you can see. Look at that. He's going to be right on the back of this car anytime soon.
Caleb Clifton currently in pit lane, Brian Kennedy as well. Honestly, Caleb Clifton maybe a little bit early in that window because Nogar and John Sears Jr. are still going to be out on track, but as you're talking about, the drivers elected to pit on lap 94 and 95 are the ones that are now pressuring Nogar and Sears Jr. the most.
It's Dustin and Brett for me. I'm sorry. I'm holding it there right now. I'm calling my bookie. That's where my money's and my money's at. Well, because the pace that they have, mate, they're about 2 seconds quicker than everybody else on track right now.
Unfortunately, it seems like both Dustin Scruggs and Brett Guzik have been caster cursed by Biggles, so that's unfortunate.
That's caster blessed. It's the other way around.
You can't bless anybody, Biggles.
I can bless anybody I want, my friend. I'm on the microphone. And Dustin and Brett could be cursing Leighton and John Sears to steal this victory away. Remember, both Leighton and John have gained a lot of positions here. Now, obviously, let's not even go there. Safety car, obviously, pace car. But yeah, look at that. They're lapping 2 seconds quicker than everybody else.
The beauty of new tires, my friend, it is quite an accomplishment. But you know what? I think if Brett Guzik finds a victory today, how sweet would that be? You spin on lap number 1. Actually, you spin on technically lap 0 before you even take the green flag and come back to the victory. Ooh, I think Brian Kennedy went for a bit of an oopsie. A little bit of new tires, too cold and too quick.
He was trying to choreograph a spin for you as you were talking about it, but it kept out of the wall.
Honestly, that could have been the race-changing spin. Very lucky that this was the out portion of Brian Kennedy's lap. It's lucky that Brian spun facing the wall, at least the inside portion of that wall, and that race car did not bounce back up into the racing line because Drew, our race admin, would probably have to call a full course caution.
I've done that before, actually, in a real car, and it's scary, but you know what? You got to be very cautious.
Don't be like Biggles, friends. Please don't be like Biggles and spin in IRL.
Hey, it was in a Skyline GTR as well, too. So, yeah, luckily I kept that one out of the way. I did. Dustin now in the lead of this race, and we're seeing the number 12 car coming in to get some fresh boost. Is that too late, Bud? Is it too late for Leighton to box? He's got to drop a little bit of time. He's got to have some pace, but, 25 laps to go. That's a lot of work.
We've seen drivers gain that distance in less time. It is a gamble because really the critical factor for Norgar is when or if a yellow flag takes place. If a yellow flag happens right now and Nogar takes a lap down, it is William Verhamis, Michelle Voles, and Brian Kennedy that will be the first drivers up in line to receive the lucky dog and return back to the lead lap. So it is really contingent on if our drivers can keep their race cars underneath them.
No, it's pressure. It's pedal to metal. I'm loving it. I would like, as we're on board with John. Hey, John, give us a wave. Yeah, I want to see a green flag to the rest of this race. We had a couple, obviously, cautions at the start, but this has been some great racing. It's coming down to strategy, isn't it? We do need to see 100%. These races. We don't need to see just caution races over and over again. We need to see real strategy, real tactics, real pace. I hope you guys are enjoying this one out there in the YouTube world, because we certainly are up in the commentary box here in Atlanta, of course.
So John Sears Jr. last seen in pit lane, lap 69. So John Sears Jr. is somewhere in that pit window. Again, the endurance is 52 laps is the most that we've seen out of any driver. So John Sears Jr. will have to make a trek down pit lane unless John is doing one of the greatest steals in lap position ever. I mean, in theory, if John is able to save fuel and take a yellow flag, I mean, it's possible to make it to the end, but I just don't see it happening.
We need to go on board Brett right now. We can see John, but we need to go on board Brett a little bit behind him because Brett is gaining. He's 1.4 and change off the back there. Brett's last lap 31.36. They're on par. So somehow John's making those tires work. However, we know Brett has better tires, and that's going to be the thing, isn't it? Can Brett make this work? Can Brett get that P1 back again that he started this race with? And he's on fire. The man is absolutely on fire because he's green and gold. He's representing Australia, and look at that. The car 13 up the road. That's John. Can he steal this one away from John with 21 laps to go? I think it's going to be easy peasy for him. There's traffic up ahead.
Lemon squeezy to wrap it up, and John Sears is going to fall into that third place position. Honestly, John Sears Jr., it's probably time for him to enter into pit lane, take those new tires, and then a 20-lap shootout on fresh stickers. That might be the play. I mean, it's an incredible gamble, and John Sears is going to either win this race off one of the best strategies that we've ever seen in Downshift Esports, or it's going to go up in flames.
I have to say it's going to go up in flames for John, unfortunately. But John can secure this P3. No, John can secure this P3 because Chad is 25 seconds and change down the road. In fact, now it's been replaced by Leighton because they've exchanged telephone numbers a little bit earlier. That's P4, P5. But so, yeah, he can't box, obviously, right now. It's too late. You're going to lose too much time. But he can probably maintain that gap by losing. You got to think about, do your math. He could lose a second a lap, of course, to the other drivers. A Leighton that has fresh boots on there that'll be blisteringly quick. But has he have enough gap? 25 seconds is enough with 19 laps to go. Remember, it's only a 32-second lap around here. So, obviously, fuel, exactly as Nick has mentioned that in the YouTube chat. But what's going to happen between Dustin and Brett? They are almost lapped exactly the same time. And their times are almost identical. But Brett is 8 seconds of change down from Dustin. Can he get it done on even Stevens? Tires and car pace.
So as you're mentioning, the current constraint right now is not the fuel window, it is the tire window right now. The race cars can run for 52 laps of fuel endurance. Dustin Scruggs pitted back on lap 94. Brett Guzik pitted on lap 95. The thing with John Sears Jr. is the last time that they were seen in pit lane was lap 69, so he is, I guess, not currently going on fuel. And there's a yellow flag. Somebody has spun in the background. This is perfect timing for Dustin Scruggs because he'll most likely be making an endeavor down pit lane. The 88 machine is involved. That's Brian Kennedy, who has been spun once before today. And it seems like two other drivers, Chad Bass, one of the drivers challenging for top spot, is also involved in the incident.
I wouldn't box. You can't box right now. There's not enough time. You can have at least 5 or so laps under the pace car. That's a lot of time to lose as they're going to start bunching up. Let's have a little replay.
Oh, it was the 88 machine getting a little bit too loose, involving in Chad Bass, who ends up taking out the Daytona International Speedway winner of Don Milkowitz, who has severe damage to that race car. But as you're talking, Biggles, I think you pit right now. Everybody should be in the pit lane because those tires are going to be fast. I mean, if you're turning 33-second lap times and the drivers around you are turning 31 and you're all in a train, you're just going to get driven on by.
Jimmy has called it out there in the chat, so I probably have to say I might have to. Here's a replay again. Nowhere to go for the 19 car, of course. They're going to be synchronizing themselves into the fence. Yeah, I mean, I might question this, my friends. I might question this because I have strategy. I've engineered F1 races, but I'm new to this. Fair enough. But I have to say, track position, you got to remember, we're going to have about 5 laps under a pace car. That's not a lot of time to get overtakes done.
It is if you have new tires.
Not that much.
Yes. It's 2 seconds difference a lap. And remember, you're going to be within a half a second, if that. No, probably a quarter of a second between the drivers in front of you. Those 2 seconds matter when you're starting nose to tail. it's going to be a larger difference. It's going to be astronomical.
That's true. Well, Dustin's boxed, Brett's boxed, John's boxed. I think you're right. They're pretty much all boxing. It looks like Garrett may have stayed out in the 69 car, and as well as Chad. And, well, you got risk it for the biscuit. You're nothing to lose too much at that point. Well, hey, you guys know what you're talking about? I don't. I'm just trying to see it how I'm seeing it at the moment. But yeah, you're right. Once they bunch up under that pace car, when there's green light and the tires stick a little bit better, you can get a lot of overtakes.
So, right now, lap 151, so 115 was the last time that we've seen the drivers in pit lane, and here comes pretty much the entire field wants to enter into pit lane. This is a strategy that we were expecting to happen, and I believe William Perhamus will be the driver receiving the lucky dog there, the last driver on the lead lap going into this incident.
Getting busy down here, isn't it?
Currently, top 5 drivers not in pit lane. Scruggs, Guzik, Sears Jr., Nogard, and Clifton elect to not pit. That means Crawford will be the first driver to be on brand new tires. For Caleb Clifton, that seems like a gamble because he has 30 lap old tires. Dustin Scruggs petted on lap 115.
They had that box the lap before, exactly. They all the top guns. Jimmy, I'm still disappointed. You never told me a prediction who was going to win this race, and you can't now, Jimmy. No, you can't now, Jimmy. No. Next time I'm broadcasting a race, I'm just going to ignore the word Jimmy. Sorry.
Jimmy who? I've never heard of that guy,
yeah,
bro.
Jimmy. Yeah. Hey, 14 laps to go. Sorry, Jim. I'm just messing around, of course. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, of course, here into the Truck League Week 2 at the Atlanta Motor Speedway on the Downshift Esports, presented by, of course, Mr. Chief himself, commentary box, as well as me. And in the background there, we have also the Jesse legend there, putting all the production on as we're watching Dustin. They're the man leading the race. Gained 1 position, but the man behind him is Brett. Has lost 1 position. So does Brett want this one back, do you think? He's made 5 pit stops. Has anybody told Brett he's made 5 pit stops?
Man has been in pit lane more than he should, and somehow those pit stops have not affected him once. To be fair, 2 of those pit stops have been under yellow because he was involved in an incident, so yeah, take it as well. I mean, he just did not a fast repair, but he repaired that car in a quick manner and finds himself now on row 1, the outside lane, as we have hopefully last restart of the day. Pace car lights are out as they take the field into the combination corner of turn 3 and turn 4. At the exit of turn 4, that's when the iRacing pace car will pull into the pits, and the field will be controlled by Dustin Scruggs.
Jimmy, get that pit car. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Scruggs takes the line very similar to Jimmy Hayden. In fact, for every restart that we've seen, it has been Scruggs on the runaway, and there he goes through the restart zone. And for the first time, it's actually Dustin Scruggs not taking the lead as quickly as he has in the past. It's only a 3-car gap to Guzik behind, and Guzik's on the close-up. John Jr. to that 5-car with back. As the drivers behind, that's Nogard, Clifton, and Crawford start to fan out. The problem is Crawford is a lap down, will have to work their way through the entire field, so that's going to be quite a gamble to make, but it seems like it's all Scruggs right now.
I know I'm sure if you're betting on Bitcoin right now, there's no way. I don't think they're going to be able to get themselves unlapped at the moment, so there's going to be a battle for that P1 to P5 position there. Dustin up 2 positions. He's started there in P3. He's currently running at P1, but Brett wants it bad. John Sears is lurking in the background, 9 positions gained. Yeah, hey, Jimmy, you didn't I'm not sure if you predicted this one at the moment. Jimmy's probably like in the pace car, just peeling into the garage. Here we go. This is going to be a great little 11 or so in change battle to the end of this second race of the season.
It's a runaway right now for Scruggs. He doesn't have help from behind. I mean, Guzik is there with a 4-car length gap, but that's all he has. I like to see these drivers go nose to tail Biggles and start to push their way on forward. Why would you do that? Because you want to separate as much as possible. John Sears Jr. has a brief incident with a wall, a small tap, and as we mentioned about some of the drivers like Whole Micro, any small breeze against the wall might cause aerodynamic damage to the race car, rendering you aerodynamic inefficient and not be able to run with the fastest of them.
Yeah, well, you don't mess with the walls, my friend. The walls don't talk back. You could go to the Pink Floyd, another brick of the wall. We don't need that one. We need a battle right now between Brett and Dustin. And that's where it's at. It's the green and gold of an Australian car of Brett that's not even from Australia, but it looks good. But can Dustin hold this one off? Gaining one position, fastest lap from Dustin, of course, but they're going down to 9 laps. They're going to come really quickly at the moment. They're starting to drop John in P3. So this could be who wants it? Who wants it more at the end of the day? And where do you get the overtake done?
I mean, you wait for that overtake for as long as possible. You do exactly what we saw Milkowitz do back in Daytona. You do that last corner pass. You make it clean, you make it efficient, and you run away with the race. But right now, your job is to not fight Scruggs. If you're Brett Kusick, you have to stay in line, because the moment you hop in a line and start to fight, John Sears Jr., no guarding, Clifton will be eager to fill your shoes and take that spot.
Brett, that I'm full car. He killed him. I want to press my way up in the P1. This is going to be the battle, I'd say. They're two and change down the road there from John Tears, who's also did a fantastic job getting 9 position. You see them in the background, so there is another battle forming. But the battle we really need to be focusing on at the moment will be the one at the front of this race, because it's 7 laps to go. And well, I have to say Brett is probably my driver of the day, because if you can do this, that'll be absolutely brilliant. Remember, this guy's been in the pit lane 5 times. Dustin's been in there 3. So add up all that money and change and all that extra dilemma, I have to say Brett is definitely driven the race of his life here.
Yeah, lap 0 spin to a final lap win. That would be the Cinderella story for Brett Kusick. Still 6 laps to go, and one driver occupying that top step on that podium. Dustin Scruggs eager to occupy that for as long as possible and perpetually until the end of the race. A 2.5 second gap between Brett Kusick and John Sears. Nogar is 7 seconds behind, and Caleb Clifton is about 11 seconds behind. And I just don't see a world where they close that distance unless an accident takes place. One of those lap down drivers might find themselves, battling. That could be Crawford, Bass, Laney, Vold, Henderson, or Berhamis fighting amongst themselves since they're about a 10th of a second off each other. And then it really kind of derogates potential runaway victory for Scruggs.
If you're Brett right now and you're at the back of Dustin, and then both of these drivers are fantastic gladiators, they're doing a great job. But when you get the overtake done, Brett is obviously, they are similar tires. Everything is similar. It's almost identical. So, there's nothing that is an advantage or disadvantage. Brett at some point has to make a gamble, has to make an overtake. If he gets ahead, then obviously he's going to be the man that's breaking the wind. He's going to be the man breaking the slipstream, and that means Dustin's going to have a bit of a power. Is he just biding his time? And if he's biding his time, what's going to happen? Or where can Dustin park that car to make it so difficult for Brett to overtake? 3 laps to go in this race.
See, I don't see a corner right now where Kusick is faster than Dustin. It seems like Brett Kusick is losing a lot on these corner exits. Now, it could be to what you're talking about. Maybe Kusick is just kind of keeping as much tires underneath him as possible, trying to leverage that trap. Or there's another thing that you can do. Sometimes you don't want to demonstrate where you're the fastest. You just sit behind the driver, you make sure that they don't see you in your mirrors, and then you can immediately pop out where you want to go for the pass. There's kind of 2 schools of thought with that. Either you flood their mirrors or you hide in their mirrors.
I'm hiding right now to look at this. I'm going to close my eyes. 2 laps to go. I hope you guys are absolutely tuned into this. Exactly, Drew. This is going to be a crazy finish. Absolutely. I think we just go to an ad commercial break and we'll come back after the results at the end of the race. No, we won't. We're going to bring this one. I have a little bit of a favourite to Brett, of course, because he's getting the extra pit stop, and he's also in the green and gold car that represents Australia. But I'm not going to take it away from Dustin. What do you think there, mate? Brian? Don't close your eyes, mate. Don't blink.
Right now.
It's a final lap.
They cross that for the last time. This will be the final lap. Even if there's a yellow flag thrown, it will be all Dustin Scruggs. They exit out of turn 2. This is the best opportunity for Brett Guzik. He has a run, but a defensive line for Scruggs. He elects to take the inside, and it's Brett on the outside in through turn 3. It's Brett with the run. It's a car width gap, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Inside lane is good for Dustin Scruggs, who crosses the finish line through the tri-oval. It is Dustin Scruggs takes week number 2 of Downshift Esports.
Oh, what a sprint race to the end, wasn't it? Good on. Both these gladiators did a brilliant job. Wow, Dustin made me very, very happy that one gaining 1 position starting in P2 in this race. Brett losing 1, but that's today's winner, Dustin Scruggs. You are the champion, number 22, of the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Wonderful race from Dustin Scruggs, and I think that's actually going to put Dustin and the 22 Racing Machine actually the leader of the points championship, because it was Milkowitz exiting week number 1 with not only a victory but as well as the points championship lead, and Dustin finished 5th at Daytona. So the quick mental math, my 3 brain cells, my finance degree, I think it's going to be Dustin Scruggs moving over to the championship leader. Again, it's only 2 laps out of a 2 weekends out of a 16 weekend race, but it's still a good position to be in, and an incredible race from Dustin Scruggs.
I can't believe this is 130 laps of absolutely cracking entertainment, isn't it? Like, that's just amazing. I had to share the booth with you, and we're sharing a couple of Fosters, of course, a couple of coffees. That was great.
Going through our top 10 right now, Dustin Scruggs, Brett Guzik, John Sears Jr., Nogar, Clifton, Crawford, Bass, Laney, Voles, and Henderson round out your top 10. Henderson, an incredible run, up 10 positions. Henderson up 5 positions. Kevin Laney in the 5 car up 10 positions, and Crawford up 7 positions. And one of our highest movers, that was John Sears Jr., up 9 positions.
Brandon Water, unfortunately, 18th place. They're dropping 12 there with a bit of a fan club there in the YouTube world. But hey, it's only one race. Plenty more to come, of course. And what? Oh, I don't think. Obviously, we have to hear from some of these gladiators, don't we, Chief?
Oh, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not go anywhere. Week number 2 interviews at Atlanta Motor Speedway will be with you in 5 minutes. See you soon. We return with week number 2, Atlanta Motor Speedway, here in the Downshift Esports, the Camping World Truck Series. It was an incredible race, and we have our top 3 podium sitters, John Sears Jr., Brett Guzik, and Dustin Scruggs. John Sears Jr., over to you, my friend. Congrats on your top 3. An incredible run for you, and it looked like you were on the off strategy all day. You're running that alternate pit strategy. You want to fill me in on what was going on with the different strategies today?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. And first and foremost, just want to thank Drew and the partners at Downshift Esports. It's been fun, new to the league, but yeah, onto the race. I had all I could do is really loose and try to play a little pit strategy in the beginning of the race by just playing fuel. So it seemed out for me a little bit.
Yeah, John, you visited the pit lane 4 times this evening overall.
Yep.
A good call at the end there, but a little bit too far back from that little battle between Dustin and Brett. But the P3's got to feel good.
Yeah, it feels good. Like I said, new to the league, so it feels good. Clean group of drivers so far. It's been a lot of fun, so I appreciate it.
And you gained 9 positions to get there. Did you expect you were going to get a podium this evening?
Honestly, I like the track. It's my favorites to race. And I was just trying to take it easy on some of those last pit strategy with those tires, just to try to keep spread on them as I could.
What do we see from the unlucky 13 there for the next race? Sorry to cut you off there.
John, what are your expectations for the rest of the 14 weeks that we have here in Downshift?
Yeah, I can't wait. Like I said, it's been a blast. Good group of guys. Everybody's welcomed me to the league and helped me through everything. So, looking forward to everything and any more races.
That's what Downshift Esports is about, my friend. Upcoming talent and inviting, recruiting, per se. Upcoming talent. And, well, geez, we're going to see a little bit more from John Sears Jr. for sure if you keep racing like that, mate.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Brett, over to you, my friend. The 04 machine had quite a roller coaster day. You want to fill me in on the lap 1 oopsie that we saw and the 6 pit stops that you had to take today, because that turned into a spin and almost win an incredible comeback from dead last all the way up to 2nd place.
Yeah, kind of stepped on it there in the beginning. Just trying to do a few tricky things on the first restart and really bit me. Didn't really practice too much for restarts and everything. That's kind of where it culminated in the start and ended up piling up a few people. So I'm kind of sorry about that. Just really had to fight an uphill battle the whole way. Just tried to work the strategy to find any little advantage that I could to kind of push my way up there. And then there at the end, I caught a little bit of a break, but I think that little bit of permanent damage that I had to the truck kind of hindered me a tiny bit, probably knocked a mile per hour out of the car or so. But all in all, not a bad run.
Yeah, from pole position as well, too. You're the fastest man on the track, obviously, during qualifying. And Brett, this is, I believe, you missed Daytona, so this is your first race?
Yeah, it's the first run in this league. Really glad that have a league quite like this. Really like the trucks. Atlanta's one of my favorite tracks. I wish it kind of could have been here for Daytona. I actually didn't even know that you guys had started the league already, to be honest. So that's a ding on my account. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to what's next.
Brett, my friend, it was a pleasure to watch you race today. Before I let you go back, anybody you want to shout out today? Anybody you want to give love to?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody watching, everybody here with Downshift Esports, everybody who's watching this broadcast, as well as thank you guys for putting this on.
Thank you, Brett, to get that P2. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Brian.
Cheers. Absolute pleasure, Brett. Dustin Scruggs, number 22 machine, an incredible run and probably the most consistent driver that we've seen over the past 2 weeks, both a runner-up at Daytona, 5th place position at Daytona, and then finally taking that top step today, winning Atlanta Motorsports Speedway. Dustin, how are you so consistent, and what has led to your consistency over the past 2 race weekends?
Mainly just practice. I mean, I've run thousands of laps at Atlanta. It's a pretty easy track once you kind of learn the tire strategy and how to maintain a lot of speed and save tires at the same time. So that's it. Just practice.
Dustin, come on. You've had too much champagne. Or
I
too much
can't-
milk.
I
Yeah,
can't give you all my secrets. No, I mean it's just all about staying smooth and keep the momentum up and don't turn your wheel too much. And you'll
I
save
believe you'll be
tires
leading
and-
the championship right now, my friend. So you have target on your back.
Well, good. Yeah, that was kind of the plan last week. I mean, I was in the lead on the last lap, but I wasn't gonna fight it and end up in 15th or something. Just finish the race and take what I get. So.
Were you worried towards the end that Brett could get you because you're parking the car in all the right places to make it difficult for him?
Well, it's a pretty draft heavy track, so of course I was hoping he would burn both his tires a little bit. He was running the inside line through 1 and 2, but it seemed like I was the one burning up my tires more than he was, so that didn't work. But yeah, it's a hard track to pass cleanly, so I just knew if I had to stay in front of him and stay on the main line and try to finish the race. So.
Dustin, you talked about consistency. What is going to help you to be just as consistent as you were at Daytona, Atlanta, as you go into week number 3, Phoenix?
Well, I would say I'm probably better at Phoenix than Atlanta, but we'll see what happens. I probably just shot myself in the foot on that one, but I race a lot of official races, and that's where I get a lot of practice. But I definitely ran the crap out of Phoenix, so hopefully that'll pay off.
The other drivers here at Downshift are going to be shaking in their boots, Dustin, after hearing that. Dustin, my friend, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Same thing for John and Brett. You guys put on one heck of a performance, and thank you guys so much for stopping by the broadcast booth today.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for putting it on, and good race, everybody, and we'll see you next race, 2 weeks.
See you
Cheers,
guys.
man.
Thank you.
Yep, have a good one.
Biggles, what an incredible series. I mean, week number 2 blew my mind. We saw week number 1 with the absolute comeback from Milkowitz, and today it was all Dustin Scruggs. I mean, it was his pit strategy, it was his tire management and consistency that ultimately put him in that podium position.
Yeah, Dustin, you're going to be my new accountant with that strategy. Definitely filing my taxes. Good job. Absolutely brilliant. He's getting that one position. He does come down that qualifying performance as well, too. You got to remember, because these two top gladiators, they exchanged the P1 and P2. So qualifying, remember, still plays a massive difference here. Yeah, well, this is week 2, so we have plenty more racing to go, don't we? And I'm not sure it'll be allowed in Phoenix, but I'll certainly be looking forward to it.
With that being said, the Camping World Truck Series presented by Downshift Esports here in week number 2. We start to part ways. An incredible series. And once again, congrats to the 22 Racing Machine of Dustin Scruggs taking that victory. If you're heartbroken that we are departing for tonight, fear not. The ARCA Series will take place tomorrow at 5 Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you love the Camping World Truck Series presented by Downshift Esports, we'll be returning back on February 8th for Phoenix Motor Speedway. On behalf of Biggles, my name is Chief Cass, as well alongside Jesse English and Drew Akers. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll be back with you tomorrow at 8 EST.